So at this time, it's my honor to introduce Jennifer Baader from the Brookfield Zoo, Chicago. Jennifer would like to present to the board an overview of their next century plan. Jennifer, thank you.
Yes, thank you for having me today and providing us with this opportunity. I'm Jennifer Baader. I'm the Senior Vice President of Government Affairs at Brookfield Zoo. I've been there for about 7 years, and we've just moved into an exciting new phase of our next century plan. And this plan is going to guide the next 15 years of our site planning and kind of a 30-year vision moving forward. And so some of you may have seen this presentation before or seen it in the news, but we wanted to take the opportunity here to run as quickly as I can through about 40 slides and not take up too much of your time, but provide an opportunity to ask any questions you have. We're really excited about this plan, and we think the neighborhood will be too. So who we are, you probably are pretty aware of this, but we have a vision of, as a recognized leader in influencing people's actions to conserve wildlife and value nature, with a mission to really connect, care, and conserve, build empathy with these new exhibits that connects people to animals and makes them want to make a change in their everyday life to help us conserve wild places. We opened in 1934, so we're nearing our centennial. We have about 235 acres that sits on the forest preserves of Cook County, so we are a forest preserve. And we have about 2.1 million guests that visit the site every year. We're really Illinois Zoo because the majority of our guests reside within 75 miles, a lot from Riverside and Brookfield. So we like to think of ourselves as the neighborhood zoo for the state of Illinois. Our next century plan is really celebrating that 100th anniversary in 2034. It's going to be an ambitious vision that takes what we've done historically and brings it to new heights as we really have an unwavering commitment to wildlife conservation and care for the animals within our institution. And this will be built upon 7 different pillars. I won't read them out, but these are everything from animal care and wellness to our guest experience, building our educational and community impact outside the gates of the zoo, expanding our research contributions, and harnessing the power of our staff and supporters. This 15-year plan is really a 30-year vision, and again has everything to do with expanding and enhancing our guest amenities, our animal habitats, that guest experience, and we know in that last bullet point it will come with a very significant investment on our part. We look to plan to fill this investment with public-private philanthropic giving, and we're about halfway there as we look towards this first commitment of $500 million. Again, more than a campus plan, it reaches all these different elements, everything from sustainability and climate resiliency to science and research, our education and conservation, and community engagement. You have all these slides if you would like to peruse them at your leisure later. But really getting to our organizational approach for the footprint of the zoo, we're looking at 4 different regions. The big green blob is the immersive eco-regions that transport you to a different place in the world as you walk through those areas. They're themed large footprints of the zoo that highlight different areas of the world. Our historical core is that north, south, east, west kind of cross depiction that is really honoring the promenade type layout that we had when we opened in the 1930s, where people just came and walked and liked to be seen and see other people. But we're returning some of that space to our animal opportunities, habitats, and these wildlife discovery zones, which makes up a large portion of what is on the Riverside side of the zoo. And these are our hubs for attraction, fun, really catered towards our youngest visitors and allow them to engage up close with the animals at our zoo. And then our conservation campus brings an eye into our research initiatives, our vet hospital, our conservation projects that are happening kind of behind closed doors right now. We really want to highlight those and add more windows into those programs. This just highlights what historically our historic core looked like. And we've already started to make changes to that area. We have, I'm sure you've seen our anniversary Ferris wheel that was here through the year to celebrate our 90th anniversary. And we've done a project with the Chicago Botanic Garden to update the plantings that we had around the fountain to be sustainable native pollinator plants in that space, along with statues that highlight endangered animals around the globe. But really the next phase, phase 2, happening over the next 10 years, will be rethinking our north gate entrance. And this is the entrance right now that goes under a tunnel under 31st that floods a lot of the time. We would like to see a pedestrian overpass, ideally in that location, bringing a really inspirational flyover as you come into the zoo that also highlights animal exhibits. You actually have to walk quite far at either of our entrances to see an animal as you come into the zoo. So this will be the new view from the north side as you look into a pinniped exhibit with sea lions and penguins outside looking across this plaza. Back to this zones, we're moving into our immersive ecoregions. And so the idea in this section on the west side of the zoo would be to have plantings, different indicators of moving into a different space, a different biome, a different climate. And while we can't plant species from Africa, there are many local species that kind of mimic that plains and acacia tree feel. So we hope that as you look through the map, you'll start to feel like you're in a South African forest or a tropical forest or the Himalayas as you move through the west portion of the zoo. And the first part of that side is really tropical forest. And this is the large, expansive outdoor habitats for our great apes, our orangutans, great apes, and South American primates that will be opening summer of next year. We're still on track. And it's a really great development from that historical tropic world building that opened in the 1980s and was the biggest exhibit of its kind at that time. But it wasn't, our understanding of animal welfare and how we should house animals has improved a lot over time. And there's just nothing that can replicate that outdoor experience. So we're busting out the sides of Tropic World. The gorillas will get new indoor habitats as well. And one of my favorite parts of the project is we will also be investing in the education side of the building. On the second floor, we'll have a new home for our King Conservation Leadership Academy, which are all of our programs from birth through junior high in the community, and our teen program that's on site at the zoo. So if you have any teens, this will be opening next year, and I think it'll be a great calling card for that program and the free opportunities we provide in the education realm. And just to highlight, even this one part of the project has a lot of economic impact. We're seeing it support over 336 jobs, generate over $69 million in labor income and economic activity. And we hope that as the zoo works through this master plan, we'll also see some of that trickling out through Riverside and Brookfield, whether it be through additional sales tax and additional catering locations that we're putting on these sides of the zoo, and also hopefully guests that are coming to the zoo and then visiting out into the community. After that comes the very exciting Gateway to Africa habitat plan. And as you can see, this is kind of the whole northwest corner of the zoo. It will be a reintroduction of elephants. We have new expanded mixed African species yards where there'll be giraffe and zebra together, different antelope species, and this really innovative track. You can see the yellow tracker on the outside. This will allow different animals to use different habitats on a daily basis. So every trip to the zoo will be slightly different as you experience different animals within different habitats. And these habitats will be very engaging with lots of different elements, water elements, different planting structures within the spaces. And so it'll just be a little adventure around at every corner. And we are committing to elephants again. The zoo had elephants. I think it's the #1 question everyone gets at the zoo. Where are the elephants? Or, where do the elephants go? And we get letters like this all the time from young guests who are just interested to see elephants brought back. And we have a strong commitment in this habitat. It's 20 times bigger than our last habitat. It will be one of the largest and most dynamic in the United States for elephants. And it will be an opportunity to tell that very important conservation story because elephants are still under threat from human poaching, other conditions in Africa. So providing that opportunity and having a really good background and focus on elephants will be a large part of our next plan for the next 5 to 10 years. Okay, and this is a look on the south side of the Pachyderm building where we're bringing in Nile crocodile and hippo into that space with underwater viewing, which is very exciting. And the inside of the Pachyderm building has that beautiful 1930s architecture, huge spaces for people, small, tiny indoor spaces for animals. So we're just going to rip that out, make it a complete people space. It'll be a great space for learning, bringing camps, schools, catered events into that space, and then providing new habitats for the animals in different locations around the zoo. Also within this timeline, possibly slightly before we think about elephants, is redoing our Australia habitat and providing more opportunities for the walk-through yards with kangaroos, wallabies, emu, looking at some different bird species that represent the country really well. And that will be, I think you would see within the next 5 years. This is a look at that exhibit that we saw looking across the North Gate over to the sea lions and the penguins, giving them outdoor space just north of our Discovery Center to provide that dynamic element as you enter the zoo. And then as we look forward, kind of 2034 and beyond, we don't have detailed plans for a lot of these, but we're looking at expansion beyond Salt Creek to the west. So we have about 235 acres. We use, I would say, this is back of the envelope, but maybe 3/4 of the property. We're looking at what we can do with the rest of the property to engage guests. And so this Himalayan and Central Asian steppe with snow leopards, takin, different vertical elements would be what we're looking for on the west side of Salt Creek, but to come probably in that 10 years and beyond time frame. Back to our organizational approaches as we move to the wildlife discovery. So this is everything on the east side of the zoo. And again, it's that up-close immersive. On the east side, we currently have Wild Encounters, which is where you can feed the parakeets, walk through the wallaby yard. The idea is that small children can get very close to the animals, build that empathy, learn about them. So we have the bear grottos on that side that have been closed for a long time. There's some thoughts on reimagining that with different bear species of sun bear, red panda, wolverine, and sloth bear. We just completed the renovation of our Seven Seas Dolphinarium, and that was a huge year-long project where the dolphins went to the Minnesota Zoo. They stayed there as we redid their whole habitat under the water with dynamic elements like keyholes that we can hang kelp, maybe carp, bubbles, and different things for the dolphins down there. And then we redid all the HVAC so that they had really great animal welfare in the air that they're breathing, both for the guests and the animals. But even beyond that, the team would like to look in the future at what shallow water opportunities might look like for dolphins. A lot of people think of dolphins swimming in this deep ocean habitat, but a lot of our dolphins that we study off Sarasota never leave 10 feet of water. So kind of highlighting that element and the research that we're doing in Sarasota Bay, Florida, to connect it with our animals at the zoo is a highlight as we move to 2034 and beyond. And then last is a look at what our offerings are in terms of non-animal opportunities. Having a band shell, an amphitheater, somewhere where community groups could come, we could host school play productions or just provide an opportunity for shaded picnicking during the zoo day. This would kind of fit in right where the Big Cat Row is currently, with that Big Cat rockwork as a background after the big cats have left to their new homes elsewhere in the zoo. And so that, again, is another project that's kind of 2034 and beyond. Should I get ahead of myself here? Back to the organization, the conservation campus is right on the south side of the zoo. It's right near our new North American Prairie Aviary, which is our newest addition within the Nature Plaza. It houses sandhill cranes and prairie chickens, which are a very interesting addition to the zoo. And it also houses all of our research and education. So everything from the research that we do in the animal hospital to help with vet procedures, both in managed care institutions and in the wild, to our Education Leadership Center and other conservation centers where we're doing work with the Forest Preserves of Cook County, just building windows into those programs and those opportunities that guests can engage with. And this is what it all results in. It's a very large campus plan with a lot of animals you're very familiar with, some new animals. It's on our website too at the Next Century Plan, so you can take a look there and really dive into it. Through all of this, we're also thinking about the guest experience, both guests today and our future audiences in terms of tram routes. Our zoo is getting much larger, so how do you navigate it with additional bathrooms, amenities, quiet rooms, opportunities for inclusive visiting throughout the zoo. And then investments in organizational culture. We have a lot of staff that live in Riverside. So we're also thinking about what are the back of house spaces and amenities we need the workspaces, the storage spaces to help our staff lead a really successful career while they're at the zoo. And in terms of infrastructure, I'm sure we're not alone in stormwater management being on the displays, thinking through as we build these new things, where's the stormwater retention coming from? How can we improve what we currently have at the zoo as we undergo these new projects? Facilities and operations, how do we get power, water to these different areas throughout the zoo? And then really focusing on how we can make that all sustainable. What grant opportunities are out there? Can we do solar canopies over our parking lots? Those are things that we're really looking for outside input of other projects you've seen or opportunities you know of, or any opportunity to partner with local groups or villages. That's on my plate. So any ideas you have, send them my way. And then implementation and phasing. This is 4 major phases we have lined out from now till after 2034. And there will certainly be other, what we're calling agile initiatives. Things like the addition of the macaws or the recent crane aviary we put in that will space out some of these larger elephants, Pacific Coast of the Americas, and other projects like that will happen, we think, at a cadence of every 3 years. And the next steps was really just the beginning. We unveiled the plan to the public in July. We're doing this ongoing public and stakeholder feedback, but we still need to do a lot of pricing and phasing studies, supplier diversity goals, economic impact studies, and strategic plans that will support all the programming and operations that we have behind all these new exhibits as they open. And that is a very fast look at our next century plan. I'm happy to take any questions if you have any, or the village has my contact information, so anytime you have any questions, please just let me know.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any questions, comments from trustees? No. This is a tremendous resource that residents in this area have, and we're so very fortunate to have the Brookfield Zoo, our neighborhood zoo, as you said, that serves the state of Illinois. So thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thanks.